time.
So that was 7:03 to call the order, right?
Yes,
Okay.
7:03. We'll start with audience for staff and citizens. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to introduction of Diane Holmes, speech and language pathologist candidate.
Yes. Let me see if she's here. I know she's here.
I'm here.
She's here.
I'm here.
Just wave, Diane. There she is. Diane, would you just give us a little background in terms of your current position and the reason that you were looking at Hampton Elementary School as a great place to work as an SLP once you retire?
Sure. As Dr. Oler said, I have been a speech language pathologist in the public school for over 30 years. I have not only a master's in communication disorders, but I also have a master's in reading, where I have had the privilege to be able to work collaboratively with classroom teachers, not only in the field of reading, but also in social development. So I've been able to not only, work in my area, my field, but I've also been able to work with teachers collaboratively, helping to ensure that their tier 2 intervening small group sessions are not only working, but that they're actually making great gains and they're closing that gap for some kids. I first looked into Hampton Elementary. Dr. Ola asked me this question. I don't think I articulated it very well. Not too often people ask you to think of, what your thoughts are, or what your thinking was, but I first looked at it because it was close and it was an elementary school building. I looked online and I read several reviews from parents that were very positive. So it invited me to look onto the Hampton Elementary School website, which I found to be very friendly. I think I even said it was welcoming. I thought that it was kid directed. I enjoyed looking at what they had for pictures of the kids and what each classroom was posting. I particularly loved the calendar where they have a sense of school community and it's dress up day on Thursday. So I thought that built-in sense of school was something that I gravitated towards. There are a lot of SLP jobs in my area, but this was the one that I wanted to apply to. And at this point in my career, I have a special opportunity and I believe that I can still make a difference for kids.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure that all the board members know that Diane is, I think the most important aspect is that she works within the classroom and with classroom teachers to work within the confines of the actual discussions that students have between each other, so that she will facilitate not only their discussion, but an understanding in the teacher's mind in terms of what they can do to accentuate that positive interaction between students so that it can clearly be understood within their own classroom. Whether it's a physical issue of stuttering or if there's some other issues that are social emotional more than any physiological piece. So she comes very, very well, not only recommended, but she certainly sounds very much like the kind of person we need who is more of a generalist rather than a person specific to SLP services. So we're very, very pleased having found her, and that she has found us too, in that kind of kumbaya relationship that we hopefully can develop within it. She'll be at a Master's 12. Any questions from members of the board? I'd like to open this up now, if that's all right, Rose.
I think that's a great idea. I don't see any questions. I would just like to say that I think it's fascinating that the speech and language person also got a master's in reading.
Yes.
because the connection there is just interesting.
So we can learn a lot from each other,
Yeah.
not only specialists, but classroom teachers. I've learned a lot spending time in a classroom. And I think when we share what we've learned in our own profession, I think we become a great team. And language and reading are so intertwined, and all the foundation skills for reading are part of language. So I thought it was a nice fit, and I enjoyed, and I profited from my degree in reading. So it helped me in my school, and hopefully will continue to help kids as well.
Great. Okay, so here, Mark.
Just good evening. Nice to meet you. I think but we're a very small school, and we have multi-age learning. Have you had any experience? Not that maybe in your position you'll be affected by that as much, but do you have experience with that at all?
The only experience I have with that, I mean, I do come from a small district, not as small as Hampton, but we do a lot of, because we are a small district, we wear many hats. So I've been called in my district to do a lot of different things, everything from teaching ELA to 8th graders to trying to support kids in preschool. But we did one year have looping, which was kids from grade 1 stayed with the same teacher in grade 2. So we found that to be quite beneficial, not only for the kids, but also the fact that the staff knew that child and they didn't have to have that get to know you period at the very beginning.
All right, thank you.
Rose?
Yes.
I just wanted to also tell, I just saw that Judy Ports, our current SLP, came online here, and I asked Diane and Judy to talk over the phone, and for Judy to give Diane some insights in terms of our student who is currently off campus at a specialized speech area, speech school. And so she is fully aware of, Diane is fully aware of the issues that we have with our other student. So, Judy Ports has gone out and visited the student, understands the student, and has interacted with the SLP and the nurse and the paraprofessional at that other facility. So I'm very pleased that Diane was willing to take under her wing a student that she won't actually see on a daily basis.
Great. Okay, does any other board member have any questions? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to discussion and possible action on the appointment of Diane Holmes to the 0.5 FTE position of SLP at MA 12 level as of July 1, 2021. Do we have a motion
I'll make that motion.
and a second?
I'll second Susan Lovegreen.
So Mark Becker made the motion, Susan Lovegreen seconded. I'm just keeping notes. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. And again, I'll do you in the order that you appear on my screen. So that'll be Mark Becker,
Yes.
Russ Moffett, did Russ answer? Because I didn't hear.
Yes.
Thank you. Neil,
Yes.
Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
and that's all our board members present. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yep. The motion carries unanimously.
Congratulations, Diane.
Yep.
Where
Welcome
are you?
aboard.
I lost you.
Thank
No,
you very much. I'm very pleased.
We look
Welcome
forward
to the school.
to when you start.
So do I. So do I. Thank you.
Great.
You don't have to
Okay.
stay with us. You can
Okay.
leave if you don't need to. Okay?
Perfect.
Thank you so
If
much.
that's okay, I'll do that.
Of course,
Thank,
of course.
thank you very
Yeah.
much, Dr. Ola. Thank you,
Bye.
board members.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, you
Bye-bye.
too.
Have a good night.
Great find, guys. Great find.
Wonderful. So now we'll go correspondence to the board.
Yes,
you
I
have-
have. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say you have 2 letters.
Actually, I have 3. We just received another one.
Okay, great. Why don't you read them?
Okay, first one is dated April 27th. Dear Mr. Ola, I am submitting this letter to inform you that I, as a CODA L, certified occupational therapist licensed, will be leaving Hampton Elementary School. My last day will be June 17th, 2021. That happens to be the last day that she has students. I have loved working with many various students and providing for their individual needs over my 20+ years of service. I have enjoyed collaborating with teachers and staff concerning these students. I thank everyone for this wonderful experience that you have afforded me. Sincerely, Teresa Jaworski, CODA L. The second one is dated May 3rd. And it's to the Hampton Board of Education. Dear Hampton Board of Education, please accept my resignation effective June 30th, 2021. It is time for me to retire and begin the next chapter of my life. I am grateful to have had the opportunity to work at this remarkable school. I have met many caring and dedicated teachers, staff, and administrators over the last 20 years, not to mention the amazing children. I have genuinely enjoyed working here, and I will miss all of them. Sincerely, Edie Jones, physical therapist. The last letter, which came in after the agenda was made, it's Dear Dr. Ola. This is dated May 21st. The purpose of this letter is to give 2 weeks' notice of my resignation from special education assistant / paraprofessional. My final date will be Friday, June 4th, 2021. It has been a pleasure working at HES, and I am thankful for the opportunity to have met some wonderful people. However, another opportunity has presented itself that I have decided to accept. I will continue my time here at HES with the same dedication and diligence you have come to expect from me. Thank you for the time, and I wish you all the very best. Sincerely, Amanda Sorrell.
Okay. And I have one letter. I have one letter that I received with the request to read it from Joy Becker. Good afternoon. I am writing to you as a parent of current 5th grade student at Hampton Elementary School. It is my understanding that the last day of the 2020-2021 school year is yet to be determined. According to the school website, the last day is Monday, June 14th. Previous practice has been to add school days to the end of the year for each of the snow days we experienced. This past year, HES was closed 5 days due to the weather. That potentially brings the last day of school to Monday, June 21st. Without a doubt, the 2020-2021 school year has been exhausting mentally, physically, and emotionally for students and staff alike. I am concerned that the weather will be taking a turn and we will soon be experiencing some warm spells. It gets extremely warm in the classrooms, and given the COVID protocols, fans are not permitted to be used facing the students. Can be pointed out an open window. The students are also required to wear masks at recess and during physical education. There is very little shade available for students at this point in time. I have checked the school websites for each of the surrounding towns and have learned that both Scotland and Chaplin Elementary School Boards of Education voted to make Thursday, June 17th, the last day of school. Similar to Hampton Elementary School, they did not turn any snow days into remote learning days. I am so proud of the Hampton Elementary School community. We have remained open 5 days a week the entire school year. I am hopeful when the Board of Education makes its decision regarding the last day of school, the heat and level of exhaustion being experienced by everyone will be taken into consideration. Thank you, Joy Becker. So that's the only correspondence I have. And you have no other correspondence, Dr. Ola?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm going to put add additions to the agenda that we should add in the resignation, the 3 resignations you read. Because I don't see them on the agenda. Okay, so we'll move on to approval of the 4/28/21 minutes.
Rose,
Yes,
excuse me, I'm sorry, Susan Love Green. Is it on our agenda that we are deciding on the last day of school? Is that something we have to look into?
that is not on our agenda. And Dr. Ola sent out a memo stating that the Monday, and I apologize, I can't remember what day of the week, what the number of the day is, but that we
21.
will, the 21, Monday. the
I have it here.
21st. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm reading it right now. Well, it was a letter addressed to the board, so do we need to take that up and discuss it, or? I mean, I see Dr. Ola's email. He's not making any recommendations to us. But that's regardless of the letter that we have in front of us. Is that something
the
that we
letter
need to
that-
discuss?
the letter we have in front of us was technically addressed to me.
Oh, okay.
If-
Then why-
but it- Would you, I read it because it was a request.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But if you would like to discuss it, we can add it to the agenda.
Yeah, let's do that, please.
Okay, I put that on my notes for there.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to the approval of the 4/28/21 minutes. Can we have a motion?
Over real quick.
I'll move.
I'll second. Mary
Okay,
Ellen.
Mark moved and Mary Ellen seconded. Do we have any discussion? I had nothing myself. I thought they were very well done. Hearing no discussion. I will,
You're unmuted.
okay.
Sorry.
Hearing no discussion, I'll take the roll for the vote. Mark,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Mary Ellen,
Yes,
Anne,
yes,
Susan,
Yes,
and Matthew.
Yes.
Great. The motion carries unanimously. On to the superintendent's report.
Half of my report is irrelevant.
Okay,
Simply because of the discussions that we've had on the budget. And the $100,000 Board of Finance deduction or reduction, I should say. And that has been withdrawn based on new information that we received from Kevin Chambers, or that actually Kathy Donahue received and has asked that it be withdrawn. So that part of my report is not relevant anymore. The other, although it is relevant in terms of my feelings and my concerns, but it's not relevant to any actions or any concerns on the part of the board at this point. The other pieces really are for informational purposes in terms of the things that have happened to the building and things we had to have done. The positive is that we certainly have had all of our LED lighting in the recessed fixtures replaced, and it makes a world of difference. And they're brighter and yet cost us much less to operate in terms of electrical costs. The only piece that I did not add into my report that I'd like to report to you is a phone call I received this afternoon that the solar panels were inspected 2 weeks ago. They have found some irregularities and they are coming next week at a time to be determined to make sure that our panels are operating at full efficiency. I think Mary Ellen had pointed out that we had some lowering of what seemed to be efficiency ratings in terms of the amount of kilowatts that were being done. And in point of fact, they were found to be deficient. So that's an added piece to my report. Do we, any questions about the contents of the report itself?
Go ahead, Susan.
Hi, Frank. I just have one question.
Sure.
Oh, no, you wrote this today. Never mind. But I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Sue.
Frank, I apologize. I don't mean to disagree with you, but I believe Kathy Donahue asked us not to discuss the budget until there's more information and the Board of Finance could deal with our budget when they have all the information. But the cuts were made by a vote of the Board of Finance, and they can't withdraw it until the Board of Finance meets again.
Right, I was just referring to my report where I was concerned about how, and this report, remember, was written before the Board of Finance actually met and voted on their cuts. That's why I said most of this is irrelevant in a sense, because it was written a week before in order to be able to get into the appropriate time frame for your meeting.
Great. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, we will move on to the principal's report.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good evening.
Hello.
Even though we don't have as many opportunities to go out on field trips, and we are doing a little bit of that. And students are staying really active and busy with all kinds of projects, working outdoors and in. I'm really like they're just engaging and upbeat and excited to share things, and also excited, I think, about getting ready for summer, hearing lots of summer stories. A lot of my focus has been the preschool, in wanting to have as close to an accurate number as possible for planning purposes and for the budget, and getting ready for next year. The only other thing that I can think to add is that the students in the past have gone to Nature's Classroom in 6th grade, and we've been exploring the possibility of doing some environmental educational activities over at Goodwin. And I think that we are going to be able to tighten that up for, I think I even know the dates, the 17th and 18th of June. It's usually been a 6th grade event, but because it's Team C, it will be Team C. So we just got the dates today, and we just started the planning. The students don't even know. You know before the students know. I think that's it. Wrapping
you.
up S back there. Only a few more days left.
Great. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Juan
I
just
don't-
joined.
Susan?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say, I appreciated the artwork being included. Nice job on the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
And did someone else
I
have
said
some?
Juan just came online, so you know that he's the ninth person.
Hi, Juan. Okay, I'll add him to my call list.
Hi.
I just want to say I'm really happy that you're going to be using Goodwin for environmental education.
We love it over there. We can't get enough of it. The people, the place, it's fabulous.
Great. We will move on to the Director of Special Education report. Dr. Benson Clark.
Yes, hello, good evening, everyone. My activities have been very similar to those I reported and anticipated at the last meeting. There have been transition meetings, meaning for our students who are going to Parish Hill, as well as we are trying to transition a student back to district. So I've been working closely with Principal Roberson, and I believe she and I are doing a site visit this Friday. We also are looking at summer programming, and we have a stipend that Principal Roberson and I wrote that we did get awarded, and so we need to make sure to communicate with the state so that we can spend that in a timely fashion, because there are some regulations around that, and I communicated with them and they said they will indeed be flexible with us. So much of that will occur this Friday, and we're working on transitioning students, closing out the year and making sure that everybody is in a good place.
Great. Thank you. Does anyone have?
I would just add one more thing. When we, it's sad that we're losing some of our people. Certainly, we've been lucky for such a small community. We're a great community. We've had Judy Ports, who's fantastic, and getting Diane on board. I think right after we interviewed her, I emailed immediately Dr. Ola and Ms. Roberson and said, I'm sad Judy is leaving, but if she has to go, let's hire her like right away, because not only does she have that reading expertise, but she has a lot of communication around behavior and pragmatic relationship kind of behavioral training, which is really catching on in the state, because it's just very strong and very powerful. So she has a lot of that training as well. So I just want to say that, we're, what is our saying, small but mighty or something here in Hampton.
Wonderful. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Benson Clark? Okay, hearing none, we will go on to discussion and possible action on the MOA between the Hampton Board of Education and the Hampton Education Association. Now, we couldn't address it last month because some people hadn't read it, so I'm hoping people have read it. And that we're ready to adopt it. So do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the MOA between the Hampton Board of Education and the Hampton Education Association. I'm sorry, I don't have the date in front of me.
Oh. I don't remember the date. Do you remember it, Dr. Ola?
Well, it's dated June 30th. Chrissy Stone for the HEA signed it on not June, I'm sorry, March 30th.
Okay,
Dated March 30th, 2021.
okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. And
Okay, thank you, Ann. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Susan?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. You lit up is the only reason I,
Oh,
okay, if there's no discussion, I'll call the roll for the vote. Mark,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Mary Ellen,
Yes,
Ann,
yes,
Susan,
yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
and Juan.
Yes.
Passes unanimous. All right. So we will move on to review the 2% pay calculations for paraprofessionals for the 21-22 school year. So I was able to look at those and they were extremely well done. Everyone got 2%, except for one person who got 1.96% or something. And then, of course, anyone who's on step 1 or 2 will get a little more, but that's due to the fact that the minimum wage goes up for next year. So my understanding is we approved the 2% increase, so we don't need to re-vote on it. And I don't have any changes to recommend for the salary schedule that was put out. I don't think we have to vote again. Do you think? No?
No,
Okay. So we'll move on to discussion and possible action on the development of a minority recruitment committee of the Board of Ed. Dr. Ola, will you explain what this is about?
yes, the state of Connecticut has asked that districts look actively for minority recruitment activities to ensure that our faculty and staff are reflective of the entire state population and the communities within that state. And I thought that based on that directive, that it would be appropriate for us to have couple of members of our board develop an effort to find the minority recruits to come into whatever open positions we might find ourselves having in the next few years. We did have a couple of minority applicants. We did have one who we felt was excellent, but before we could actually bring that person to you, she went and found a different position with higher pay and better insurance for her and her family. So I think it's very important that we show ourselves to be actively searching for people who are reflective of the population of the state.
Okay, is there any direction from the state on how the committee should function or what it should do?
No, it's actually, the direction from the state was to actively solicit for minority recruitment. And it suggested that we have a committee. It didn't say of the Board of Education, but we just don't have enough. We're just not big enough to have another grouping of people who might be appropriate to get in there. So it would seem to me that if you have, and it doesn't have therefore a number of people or anything like that, but it does ask that we actively solicit for. So I thought anybody who can help me implement that kind of a recruitment effort would be very much appreciated, not only by myself, but would follow the State Board of Education's recommendation.
Okay. So Juan has expressed an interest in being on the committee, and I told him I was hoping he'd chair. Is there anyone else who would be interested in serving on this committee? Okay. Mary Ellen? But you're there.
Ann wants to speak, not me. Go
Okay,
ahead.
Ann.
Yeah, I'd like to be considered as a potential member of the committee.
Okay, great. So we have 2 members. So I will appoint Juan, Ann, and myself to the committee. And if anyone else would like to also join the committee, just let me know. And we'll wait for Juan to call a meeting. Thank you all who volunteered.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this like districts are competing against each other to find minority candidates? Because I know that EastCon is also doing this, and I'm wondering if it's beneficial to work with a large RESC in finding people coming to the 36 towns, or if it would not be beneficial, because then we'd be competing with EastCon for hiring minorities. Well, anyway, I just want to let you know that there is an effort going on that maybe people can look into.
Okay.
Every district and every RESC is probably doing the same thing. So I suppose in a way we are competing with everybody else. But that doesn't mean we won't be able to find someone who wants to come here.
Okay, Ann would like to say something?
Okay,
I'm quite sure that in the last legislative session, there was an emphasis on minority recruitment. And it's been an issue for years and decades. But I think there's been like a recent push towards increasing the coordinated efforts. So that's
what
all
do you
I have
mean
to say.
by coordinated effort?
Well, I put in there coordinated, but I think it's to Mary Ellen's point that if districts can cooperate, you know, within geographical regions, to me, that would be preferable than having people undermine each other's efforts. But I'm just one individual expressing my point of view, so.
Yeah. I wonder how the candidates would feel about that, though. But we'll let the committee hammer it out.
Yeah.
Okay, we will move on to discussion and possible action on the proposed 21-22 superintendent's contract. It's the same contract that we had last year at the same rate of pay, which is also the same contract we had the year before at the same rate of pay. But I would like to suggest that we move this later on the agenda and go into executive session. Does that work for everyone?
Yes, the Susan Lovegreen, that's fine, Rose. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wish to comment? Well,
Do
I
you
think,
need a motion? Do you need a motion to move it, or you just move it down?
I don't know. Why don't we make a motion?
Okay, I move that we move item 13, discussion and possible action on the proposed 2021,
Wait,
I'm sorry.
Mary Ellen, I'm going to cut you off because we're going to an executive session. Are we completing a whole new item here?
I don't think so. I think we're going to move item 13 to 17, and then when we get there, we will vote to go into executive session.
Yeah,
Rose,
it's,
just to-
I just moved. Go ahead. Mark, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, just, I think we will have to do an addition to the agenda, add executive session because it's currently not on the agenda, but sorry.
It
is.
I think when we get to this item, in the discussion, we can decide to go into a executive session without adding one to the agenda. We're
Okay.
allowed to go into executive session for any item.
Didn't know that.
Okay, I move to,
Rose, this is Juan.
Hi, Juan.
Aren't we supposed to give the subject of the executive session 24-hour notice, or that either that or that person or whoever it might be waives that right? But I think we have to give them 24-hour notice.
He had the notice.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, Mary Ellen, I'm sorry. Would you like to try again to give your
Okay.
motion?
sure, I move that we move the discussion and possible action on the proposed 2021, 2022 superintendent's contract to the end of the agenda.
So item 17.
Well, we have additions to the agenda coming up, so I didn't know how you want to number it.
Oh, okay. Usually we go 15A and 15B.
Okay, then I'll modify to item 17.
Okay, great. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, and I'll call the roll. Mark,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Mary Ellen,
Yes,
Anne,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan,
A,
A meaning abstain?
yes. A,
Okay. Okay, thank you. The motion carries. Now we'll move on to committee and liaison representatives' reports, recommendations. We'll start with communications.
Hello, Matt Flaggart here. Again, I apologize. We've not met and haven't done anything. If anyone does want to take over as chair, I would be happy to give it up. Just I can't find the time to schedule a meeting. So that's I'll just say that.
Okay. Thank you, Matthew. The Hampton Scotland Joint Committee has not met again. We were waiting for the budgets to be passed. And that has happened in Scotland, but not in Hampton. But it looks like it won't happen in Hampton soon, so I don't know when we're gonna meet again. Finance and operations?
Yep, so we just did meet, so a couple things, the parking lot, I'm still working with Alan Cahill to try to figure out the logistics of that. I'll meet with him probably Thursday. Playground stuff. One thing I brought up to our board is maybe the possibility of just asking around to see if there is people that would be willing to donate to the playground so that we can start developing that fund. We held off from a COVID standpoint, but now might be a time where people have the ability to donate some. So we might be able to do a lesser playground because of some of the discounts that are going on right now. But we still need to do some fundraising first, but I thought we'd do it at like a local level. And then we also discussed a little bit the budget. The Board of Finance had voted to reduce our budget by 100,000 from what we asked for. But then based on some new information that's coming in about how MBR could be calculated based on the student numbers, and Dr. Ola's point, the communications with Mr. Chambers, we were asked to hold off by making any significant changes right now until we can get more of the facts, and the Board of Finance might discuss and potentially change their current vote. And so that's what we discussed. And one thing that we came up with, and I know this was a question I saw in an email, but the modifications we're doing to support the preschool room and the kindergarten room with the mini splits, that's actually coming out of grant money. So that grant money couldn't be used for operational costs of the school. It would only just be applicable for this type of spending. So it's it wouldn't be something we could use to offset the budget, but it also wouldn't necessarily affect the budget because it's a grant. And Dr. Ola or Sally, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was accurate. So.
That's correct.
Oh, that was it from finance and operations.
Okay, great. Policies?
Mute, start again. Okay.
Okay. The policy committee is continuing to review and update. We haven't met in the recent past, but we're hoping that, especially after the school year is over, that we'll have more time to catch up with this. Some of our needs are basically to focus on record keeping, because the COVID situation has changed considerably. So
Okay, thank you, Ann. Okay, ad hoc committee on the superintendent's evaluation has not met. Now report from CAVE.
CAVE has continued to have professional development opportunities, and they're actively focusing on plans for the fall as well in terms of professional development opportunities. So there's a legislative wrap-up scheduled for mid-June, and I believe it will be virtual rather than the typical meeting in the state legislative offices, because last I heard they're not using the space in the state legislative office building for that kind of event at this time.
Yeah. Things change fast, so who knows what they'll do in the fall. Thank you, Ann. And Mary Ellen Eastcon?
We had our May meeting, but we're going to have another one in June because our budget could not be finalized for next year. We had a wrap up of the type of services that EastCon offers, and they're very broad. So I am sending all of you a link so that you can just review that rather than me trying to explain it to you, and a list of the acronyms that are often used in their documents. Oh, yes, and I'm on the policy committee. We just finished a revision of the bylaws, which will change representation on the EastCon board substantially. There won't be an executive committee of 12 districts. There would be representative of all 36 districts and with voting privileges, whereas right now only 12 districts vote on things. So that just went to our board. It was first read. It wasn't discussed. It'll be discussed in June, And then any change in bylaws goes out to the districts for at least 30 days. And it should be sent to all the superintendents and the chairs of the boards of education. Then after 30 days, we reconvene in August. So I expect that we'll be voting in the bylaws in August. So that's it.
Great, thank you. On to additions to the agenda. So we have 2 items, the 3 resignations and the last day of school. Would someone like to move to add those to the agenda?
So moved.
So moved. Oh,
Okay.
somebody else, that Mark Becker.
Yeah, and seconds.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any discussion?
Do you want to, oh, hi Rose,
No.
it's Susan. Do you want to discuss them together or do you want to do the resignation? Oh, no. Never mind. Just discuss to add them to the agenda. Never
Right.
mind.
Okay. Okay, so agenda. I'll call the roll. Mark,
Yes.
Russ?
Yeah.
Neil,
Yes.
Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Right? They're just.
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
the motion carries. So we'll make the resignations 15A and with the last day of school 15B. Okay. Do you all want to accept the resignation separately, or do you want one email or one motion?
One motion.
All
One.
right, would you like to make that motion, Juan?
I don't know where they are.
The names aren't all written down. I can tell you the names.
Okay, because I have no idea. We're going to
Okay.
discuss the resignations or accept the resignations.
Well, I think we're going to accept them,
Okay.
possibly with regret. It's Teresa Yaworski, Edie Jones, and Amanda Sorrell.
Okay, then I move that we accept the resignations with regret of the following 3 persons aforementioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Love green.
Susan seconds. Okay, I'm just going to write that down, Susan. Okay, I'll call the
But just Rose,
roll. Yes, Mark?
just, is it customary, we'll just have Matt will automatically write them letters for like to express our appreciation, or is that not automatic? I would think like Edie Jones, who's been there for a long time, probably deserves maybe a little bit of something of a thank you card or something from the board. I don't know.
Sure, if someone can send me the addresses, I'll absolutely send them out.
I'll get those to you.
Thanks, Sally.
Okay, it brings up an interesting thought, Dr. Ola. Do we usually send people letters when they resign?
Only certified staff, if I remember correctly.
Okay, well, two of the people are licensed, so I think of that like certification. And if there are employees, are they on the, are they in the union, the teachers
No.
union? They're
No.
not?
None of them are.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Matthew, for agreeing to do that. But I still have to call the roll. Mark,
Yes.
Russ? Did Russ say yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what the problem is, Russ? You're behind the sign that has your name, so I can't see if your mouth moves. Okay,
Sorry about
thanks.
that.
That's not your fault. Okay, Neil,
Yes.
Mary Ellen,
Yes,
Anne,
Yes,
Susan,
Yes,
Matthew,
Yes.
and Juan.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously.
Wasn't gonna do I again because. I-
Okay, and now for a discussion of the last day of school.
Susan Lovegreen, I have a question or two. Actually, I got a couple of questions. So things that were brought up in the letter that what do you think? I'm concerned about the ventilation and the weather as we get farther into June. So my first question, we still can't open doors, right? That's still a thing. So we
Uh,
can open up the windows and do we have air conditioning in the rooms?
First,
No.
we do not have air conditioning in the rooms, and secondly,
Don't worry.
we open up doors
Have enough down
in the
there.
classrooms other than pre-KK, unless somebody is guarding the door in a sense so that the children don't run out. At this point, special education has not had a problem. And the students, we have one student who seems to like to run, but that has dissipated quite a lot as that particular student gets older. It's not going to be a huge issue, but it is certainly, I mean, it's going to be 90 degrees, the end of this week?
Yeah, well, that with the masks, what do we know about recess and gym? I mean, I know on your report today, you said that you didn't have any information yet. So when do you think, and you probably can't answer, if you can't answer this, it's fine, but have you heard when they're gonna make any recommendations on that?
can
Beverly,
I,
yeah, go ahead, Mary Ellen. Sorry.
they talked about that on Tuesday, the state epidemiologist, and he said, if children are actively running around outside, they probably don't need their masks. They need their masks to exit the building, to come back in. If during recess they're sitting around together, they should wear their mask. So, so if they're very active, that's when it's okay to remove masks. He also said, recommended, I should say, that if the temperatures in the classrooms are rising so much that learning is not occurring, then to just do a half day. They don't want fans blowing on the children or blowing across the children. You can put one in the window to pull air out. They especially don't want fans. They said lift them up off the floor because having air circulating from the floor may redistribute droplets or whatever. So yeah, so the recommendation is if it gets that hot, send them home.
All right, so are we open to half days? Is that something that we're thinking?
It is already scheduled as a half day.
On Monday, the 21st? All right.
Is that correct, Dr. Ola?
Yes, that is correct.
And so just one last question. We're always looking to save some money. Is there sort of like, is there any sort of financial benefit to going all the way to Monday, or could we save a couple of dollars if we closed a little early? We had our
No,
last day of school, say on Thursday, June 17th.
so that will
Any
not,
savings in the budget at all with busing?
the way the formula works for the grants that we get from the state, we actually do better to hold school. Because they count how many days you hold school as part of the total.
Gotcha. All right. All right. And just the last thing I want to say is that, Frank, for you and your team, I just want to say congratulations for a tremendous job. Well done. Making it to the end of the year. You've achieved your goal. It's 183 days. Every child, every day, 183 days. So I just want to say congratulations to you, to Beverly and to everyone else. And thank you very much for a job well done.
Thank you.
I'll
I
second the
agree. I
motion.
wonder if we could have that be a statement from the board of ed.
Oh, Ann,
I
can you hear
wonder-
Ann?
Could we wait until we've done it, though? Technically, I think we should do that at the end of June, because then the school year will be over.
Okay, I would be supportive of having an earlier end of the school year for a couple of reasons. One is that the extreme weather changes, we go from fluctuating to, very cold for the season to very hot for the season, and it's part of the climate change. And I just think that in acknowledgement of what a difficult year it has been and how extraordinary the cooperation has been on the part of the team, I would be inclined to sort of give the benefit of the doubt and sort of listen to what's happening in our neighboring districts and follow suit. I think the concerns about not having air conditioning, with the COVID situation, which is still happening. I mean, it's not as severe as it was, but it's still happening. So I think it warrants a second look.
Thank-
My opinion.
Thank you, Ann. Does anyone else have anything to say?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Frank.
I would just urge you to think about it from very arcane demographics and data collection. Rose was absolutely correct. It means a lot if we continue to stay open for the 183 days from ECS and funding issues that will then impact our MBR. So my feeling is if it's really too hot and parents are upset, they should keep their child home, but we should open the school, afford the children their full 183 days. But that is my opinion as your superintendent.
Okay,
I seem to recall some discussion about Goodwin being available for some special events on the 17th and 18th. So
Yes.
that may reduce the discomfort, if we are planning outdoor events for the children.
That's for one team, Team C. And the
Oh,
other
that's
thing,
for one team.
yeah, the other thing to remember is we have our HVAC system working 24/7. It actually does cool down at night. And actually Linda Sanchini emailed me the other day as wow was her opening on the email. It said it's really cool in here. And the HVAC system is obviously working because it was warm. It was hot. It was one of those first days that was really hot, but it got cool at night down to 55. And because the system was constantly pulling in cool air, the whole school was cool when they opened the doors and went through most of the day. So you just have to add that little factor in there that in fact, even if it's a half day, especially on the 21st, you've got that HVAC system doing something that you didn't expect it to do. And that is cool it at night to keep it cool
During
as you open.
Yeah, but it's not going to be that way in June, I don't think.
Well, you're probably right, but
I'll add my 2 cents. I would have no problem shortening the school year.
Does anyone else wish to comment?
I have a question.
Yes, Juan?
Dr. Ola, do we have any kind of policy where a set temperature reaches and is sustained in the building that therefore you can release kids? Or is that policy not existent?
There's no policy per se. What it is at the discretion of Beverly. And if it gets too hot, the problem is we could close for half day as the state had suggested. The problem is parents who work, who expect their children to be in school for a full day, and all of a sudden you close because it's too hot. It's a different issue when there's a snowstorm and the issue of safety, but in terms of roadways, it becomes difficult for busing and for parents. So if we're going to close for a half a day, we can do that on the 17th, 18th, and the 21st, the last 3 days after the 180th day. And as long as parents know that that's what's going to happen in advance, they certainly can prepare for it. And that would certainly take advantage of the fact that the state has said that's a possibility. I just told you the APA system does keep the school very cool early in the morning and during most of the morning time. And we still get our 183 days in because the state still recognizes half days as full days.
So we have no way to predict the weather.
Right.
So we don't know that it will be extra hot. We don't know if it'll be raining. I hate to call off school and then have it be raining or have it not be a hot day. But I would like to leave the decision up to the superintendent.
Sorry.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will move on to audience for citizens and staff. Is there anyone who would like to say anything? Hearing none, we will move on to discussion and possible action on the superintendent's contract. So we have a contract for the superintendent in our packets. And as I said earlier, it's the same as last year and the year before, including the rate of pay. I am fine.
Rose, are we going to executive session for this or not?
And wait until she's done, please. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I think the board has a choice. Usually we complete the superintendent's evaluation and then accept the contract. However, I have no problem if we would like to accept the contract. It's a 1-year contract. If we would like to do that tonight and work on the evaluation starting next month, then that's fine too. So what is your pleasure? I'm watching the thunderstorms and they're not quite to our county yet. So I think we would have a little time. Nobody has a pleasure?
Do you want to
But
say
you-
something, Ariane?
Well, I'm also aware of the weather and, but my question earlier was simply, are we actually going to deliberate or are we going to vote? Because we can vote outside of the executive session. We wouldn't vote in the executive session anyway. So it was
Yes.
more a procedural question.
So did I answer your question or do you still have it?
Well, I don't know the answer, so I guess I still have it. Are we we have to make a decision about how we're going to proceed.
That's right. And that's the thing that we're waiting for comments about. If people would like to vote on the superintendent's contract tonight, we can. We would just need a motion. Would you like to make that motion, Ann?
I'll move
Okay.
that we accept the 2021, 2022 superintendent's contract.
I second it.
That was Russ who seconded.
Yes.
So Mark and then Russ. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll.
Yeah, I want to say, Rose, that I did not see the contract in the packet.
Oh,
I don't. But
why did I think
Yeah.
it was?
if
Oh, it says,
it, well, it says on the agenda.
yeah, it says on the agenda. Frank, are you aware that the packet didn't go, the contract didn't go out?
Did anybody get it on the separate cover?
I didn't see it at all.
All right, then don't vote on it. You haven't seen it. My understanding, it was going under a separate cover.
Okay,
And so I would recommend we just wait till June. I'm not concerned.
okay. We'll follow the superintendent's recommendation. Mark, would you like to withdraw your motion?
Yes.
And Russ, would you like to withdraw your second?
I do.
Yes, thank you very much. In that case, we have finished our business. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Russ,
Second.
seconded. Mark, did you move?
Yeah, I'll second.
Well, Russ said he wanted to second because he heard you make the motion.
Oh, I'm good with that too.
Okay. I'll call the roll. Mark,
Yes.
Russ,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Juan.
Yes.
The motion carries. We're adjourning at 8:15. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Everyone.
Good night.
Night.